Welcome back. So in this video, you'll learn how to add a crosshair. So right now we don't have any crosshair, right? So we're just shooting through the hip. So this is in classic first person terms. This is called shooting through the hip. So where you don't have a crosshair and you don't exactly know where exactly you're shooting. But if you want some more accuracy, if you want to aim better, then obviously you right click and it goes, the iron sight comes closer to you so that you can aim better. But we're going to add a crosshair. Just like if you played any other game, any other first-person shooter for that instance, there's always a crosshair in front of the gun or any other weapon that you're holding. And this is, quite reminiscent of the classic Counter-Strike, where you don't really have, aiming down the sights for AK-47. So you actually have to shoot through the hip, but at least you have a crosshair so that it's easy for you to shoot. Easy for you to aim and shoot without actually aiming by right clicking. Okay, so we'll be adding some crosshairs. So I've downloaded some crosshairs from the internet, so not a big deal. So you can simply go ahead and go to Google or Bing Images and look for crosshair, and you can find multiple crosshairs. So I just got 5-6 crosshairs here. So I'm going to drag them and drop them into my project. And first I'll create a new, let's inside UI. So these are sprites and images. So I'll right click and I'll create a new folder and I'll say crosshairs. Okay, and then I'll drag and drop them all inside here. Okay, so and right away I'll click save all. So if you want to follow along, make sure that you have a crosshair which is 100 by 100. Okay, 100, the size is 100 by 100. Right, so anyways, if you want to take a look at the crosshair, as simple, they're quite simple. So this is a very classic crosshair, very easy to find. All you have to do is Google. But once you download them, make sure you use Paint.net or Photoshop or any of your photo editing software to scale the crosshair down to 100 by 100. So that's a better size for our game. So anyways, so I'm going to close this, and so let's see if these crosshair come out well. So alpha is there, and I think I'll close this guy, and I'll close this as well, and I'll close this. I'll open this up if I need it, and HUD I'll keep it there. All right, great. Okay, so now let's decide on a crosshair that we want to use. So if I want to, let's say I'll click on this. No, that's a little too big. I'll just browse through all the crosshair that's available for me. That's okay. And this is also fine. And this looks more like for a grenade launcher or something. I think this is pretty good, or maybe this one, a classic one. All right, so I think I'll use this. That is crosshair 3. So with that selected, I'll go over to my HUD. So I already had it open, so you might want to open yours. I'll first drag and drop a image right in the middle, and I'll anchor it to the center, and I will first make this 0 and 0. Okay, and now I will give it a size. Let's say the size of this is, as we decided, if I hover over this, it's 100. It should be 100 by 100. If you look at the dimensions on this tooltip, the third last information on this card that's come up is dimensions 100 by 100. So now that I know that it's 100 by 100, I'll make it 100 by 100 size. I'll code it out as 100 by 100. Or you can also say size to content, and whatever image you add in, it's going to add that out there. Now, of course, it's not sitting in the center because the anchor points for the middle is always top left. Now, since it's 100 by 100, you can either say 0.5 or 0.5. That will make it go in the center. Or if you don't want to mess around with the alignment, you can take the X and the size X and the size Y and say -50 and -50. Okay, -50. So that will make it sit right in the middle. Now, of course, when I hit compile, we don't have anything to show here. That's because we haven't added any image in the brush. So hopefully, if I click on this little arrow, it should take whatever selected here. So right now it's crosshair 3. So if I click on this, there you go. So that's crosshair 3. So now when I hit compile and when I hit play here, I should be able to see the crosshair. Okay, again, it's not perfectly aligned, and also when I'm aiming down the sights, I don't want to see it. So even that needs to be taken care of, right? So first things first, and there is another way of doing that. So if you don't want to do it this way, then I'll keep this. I'll just say crosshair, Okay, and for now I'll just keep it hidden. Let's say I'm looking for hidden. There it is. I'll hide this and I'll quickly check whether it's rendering or not. No, it's not. So great. So I'll go over to the weapon base, click on the viewport, and I can also add a crosshair in the workspace right in front of the muzzle itself. So with this selected, I can there's another thing I can do. I can actually click on the AK-47 itself and open this up and go over to the skeleton and look for another bone. I'll create another socket. So right click and I'll say add socket. Okay, and I'll call this crosshair or 3D crosshair. Okay, that's a 3D crosshair. Now again, if I want to, let's say I want to move this, first I'll rotate it 90 degrees and move this here. Okay, and let's say I want to move this in front of the gun like that. Okay, there's another way, but again, depends on what you want. This is not a screen space one. Just keep that in mind. Of course, you can set it up as a screen space, but I'll show you what I mean. So for now, I'll just keep it here and come back to weapon base. And inside here, I'll add component and I'll say widget. Okay. So when I bring in a widget, that will be child of this, and now I can select the crosshair, and there it's gonna sit there. All right. So now I just have to select the widget class. Now the name of the widget class is HUD, but we don't have that, right? I mean, the HUD meaning everything is gonna draw in front of that, in front of the gun, along with the health bar and everything. So the best thing we can do now is we can go over to UI, go to the widgets, right click on HUD or create a new one instead, and I'll say user interface and widget blueprint, and I'll just call this crosshair. And out here I'll say not screen size, fill screen would be desired. Okay, and then I'll simply add an image onto the canvas panel. Okay, and when I click on the image, I'll first rename this to crosshair, right? And I'll just anchor this to the center, and then I will again make it 100 by 100. Maybe I can change it later on if I want to. And of course, this will be -50 and -50. It sits bang in the middle, and I'll just bring in the crosshair, and I think that's crosshair 3. So crosshair _3. There it is. So now it's filled it up, right? So now we have the crosshair, and we can now go back to the weapon base and select the crosshair, right? And as you can see that it's right there and it's kind of big. So maybe I should just move it. It's 500 by 500. That's not the real size. Instead, I'll make it 100 by 100. All right. And there you go. I'll just bring it down there. You know what? I'll go over to my AK-47 skeleton, and I'll make this details. I'll just make this 0.5 and 0.5 and 0.5 and save it and come back to my weapon base, and there you can see that I think it has, if I just compile it, and I don't know. So let me just try this out. If I hit play, I do not see it. Maybe because, let's see, it's plain and manually redraw 100 by 100 world and real time. So where is it? I'm not able to see it. If I am doing it like this, if I hit play, I don't see it. Maybe because I have to rotate it. I think so. There you go. That is, I don't know, maybe I should be able to see it now. And there you go. So now there's a crosshair. And of course, I want to, this is a very weird angle to work with. I'll just say 0, 0, and -180. And I'll just move it up here like this. And I'll just make this 50 by 50. Okay, and when I hit compile and I hit play, and there you can see that, and it's even easier right now. So, but that's a 3D crosshair. The problem being, if I am moving too close, it disappears, right? Uh, that's because of the 3D crosshair, and it's not a screen space crosshair. That's the difference between a screen space crosshair, and a 3D crosshair. This thing is taking space in the 3D world, while the screen space does not take space in the 3D world. It has its own 2D space, a two-dimensional space, right? So that's why a screen space will never disappear when your gun sticks into, or when a gun gets too close, or the distance between the crosshair and the object that it's trying to penetrate is almost overlapping. So the crosshair is gone. That's because it's actually penetrated the cube, right? That's one way to go about that, but let's not go this way. I just wanted to show you that there's another way. So I'll hit delete, and I'll compile that, save that, and I'll come back here, close this, and I'll also get rid of this crosshair. I'll right click and I'll say delete and get rid of that, and I'll come back to my HUD, click on the crosshair is already selected. I'll say visible, and I'll quickly check whether it's visible or not. It is. Okay, of course we have to fix it. Now the crosshair again is too big for us, so I'll have to bring this down to a favorable size. That would be 50 and 50. And again, the position has to be changed. If you don't want to meddle around with these positions, so you can actually zero them out, and you can make the alignment as 0.5 and 0.5. Okay, because every time you change the dimensions, you'll also have to change the position because it changes along with that. Now if I hit play, and there you can see it, and of course when I right click, I want that to disappear, so we'll also look at that.